Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rucha Kudash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is simply Nothing New. And pretty much, this goes into, um, which I didn't think about this when the title came to me, but it goes into the scripture in Ecclesiastes, the first chapter, which we're going to read that and build off of there. I really don't have any precepts or anything, just a thought of a video that I was listening to from yesterday. I listened to some more of it today. Because the videos, you want to watch different videos, but some videos are like hour long, hour and a half, 2 hours long. So it's impossible to watch, different videos and try to watch the whole entirety of the video. So sometimes certain videos you watch in parts, because you don't really want to miss anything, so you watch in parts and just get the, and sometimes you just watch enough just to get the gist of the video and then you can move on to the next. But some videos draw you in, and pique your interest, so to speak, and you end up watching the whole thing no matter how long the video is. It all depends on the spirit. So let's start off here in Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. But before I hit that, the reason why I'm doing this video through the spirit was I was watching Elder Yeshawamba's video. The one, I'm trying to remember the name of it. I can't think of the name of it right now. It might have been one of those in the news ones. And pretty much he played a part in there with a call for an uprising, that individual. And pretty much he was showing the out there in England, they had some type of show that they did. And one of the things they showed was, the building of the Tower of Babel. They showed the mechanical bull, which represents Baal, Apis, They show, so-called black woman being the one in front of that, which, as we said before, that's Eve, going back to that Gardenian pact. And one thing the guy from the Call for an Uprising said was that I can't remember exactly how he said it. Something along the lines that the languages was the reason why it was called Babel or something like that. And that's not actually correct, 100% correct, even though that's a part of it. Because the word Babel, as the elder broke it down, Babal means confusion. And the reason why is because you had many different languages. The Lord, had one language. They all had one set, one mind. And the Lord disrupted the languages so that they couldn't understand each other, so that they would leave off the building of that thing, because the Most High never wanted, that to take place, or one world order, one world government. Because if you have 10 people right now in front of you speaking 10 different languages, you're going to have nothing but confusion. So it was really named confusion, but the languages did play a part of it, because the Lord confounded that one language, because he didn't want all nations coming together for that particular purpose. And he also mentioned that they all came together for that one purpose, or something along that line, and they were rebelling against God, or something along those. I'm just merely paraphrasing what he was saying, and he said that they were pretty much rebelling against the Most High by doing this thing, building this tower, all coming together as one, or something along those lines. And as soon as he said that, I thought about this Renaissance Christianity, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to establish the Tower of Babel and this one world order, one world government, one world religion, where everybody comes up under the banner of Renaissance Christianity. And that's exactly what they're doing. And that's why the name of the lesson is called Nothing New. Right? So when we read Ecclesiastes 1 and 9, it says, the thing that had been is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Because there's a phrase that goes, history repeats itself. But the thing is, they never really explain what that really means. And the reason why history repeats itself is because it's the same people coming back doing the same exact things. There's another word, a French word, déjà vu, which is a compound word. Déjà means already been, or already been, or already. And then the vu is French for see. So already seen. So déjà vu means already seen. So when you have so-called déjà vu or history repeating itself, it's because it's the same people coming back doing the same exact things that they did in a prior life. All right. So there's nothing new under the sun, because what is the thing that is not new? Is the spirit. The Most High is the Father of spirits. He created all spirits, and all spirits been here over and over again, because you have spirits that stay in the spirit world. You have righteous spirits, you have wicked spirits, you have spirits that come down to the earth, that inhabit the earth, in the human form. You have masculine spirits, you have, feminine spirits, so on and so forth. So it's the same people coming down on the earth doing the same exact things as they did in the past. So that's why I said there's no new thing under the sun. And that thing is talking about the spirit. Okay? And there's another precept, I believe it's either in the 6th chapter or the 4th chapter, where it speaks about, the thing that has been, or something something about the thing being man. I believe that might be the 6th chapter. And it's talking about the spirit that's in man, that has been here many times. That's why there's so many. That's why there's, like, people might say, that this particular individual reminds them of somebody else in their family line that died many years ago. You're doing the same exact things as they did. Why? Because the possibility is that that individual could be the same spirit coming back, just at a later date. It says, is there anything whereof it may be say, see, this is new? It had been already of old time, which was before us. Yeah, just because you have a brand new baby doesn't mean that the spirit that's in that baby is a brand new spirit. Because it's not. These spirits have been here over and over again. That's why sometimes when the baby dies, when it's an infant, people say, well, that was innocent, a baby, but it doesn't necessarily mean that. It could be that that particular baby was judged in the spirit world when they went back for something they did, to come down in this time and to die as a baby. All right. It says there is no remembrance of former things, right? Because if we could remember former things, we would know who we were in different lives. Like right now, if any one of us knew who we were in the past, we could go and visit the grave where where we're resting at right now. To go there and see, okay, here lies so and so and such, and that would be you. But that remembrance was blocked from our minds. So there is no remembrance of former things, neither shall let me read that again. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that are to come with those that are to come after. That's right. So now, building off of the statement that he made, that the people rebelled against the Lord, and came together to do this act, to build this tower. Like I said, it reminded me of Renaissance Christianity, which that's exactly what they're doing. They're gathering all peoples, all nations together as one, under one banner. That is not the gospel. That is another gospel. That is another Jesus. Because the gospel, which is predicated, for lack of words, by the contract in the Old Testament, is that the nation of Israel was cut off, but now they're restored back, pursuant to the first and the second covenant, which was made only with the nation of Israel. That is the good news, that now we have good graces. Now we have reconciliation back with our power, Yahweh, through the blood of Yahushai. That is the gospel. And wherever Israel is scattered among these nations, no matter what they look like, as long as their line goes back to one of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, those are the ones that are to be brought back. But in this time, only the elect will get it. That's the gospel. We're always accused of not teaching the gospel because we don't teach the gospel according to worldview of this Renaissance Christianity. Because worldview is not the view of the scriptures. It's not the view of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. They're teaching, all nations can be saved. The Bible doesn't teach that. That is not the gospel. That is the worldview gospel of Renaissance Christianity. So going to Genesis, let's go to Genesis 11. It says, and the whole earth was of one language and of one speech, right? Because everyone back then spoke the Hebrew language. All right. And this is why when the earth was separated and repopulated by Noah's three sons, which you have people out there that don't believe that, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. You have Edomites and other people that don't believe that, but that's neither here nor there, because their unbelief is not going to make the Most High's faith without effect. And when you go to those three different sons, they had descendants, or they had, children, and their children had children, and this is what built up those particular nations. Now, when we go to the chosen of those sons, because you had Noah was chosen, and then you had Shem that was chosen. And now the Shem's line, Shem had 5 sons. The chosen line that left or went through Shem was Arphaxad. Then Arphaxad had sons, and his grandson, one of his grandsons, I believe his son was Salah, if I'm not mistaken. Arphaxad's grandson was Eber, and Eber, his name is either his grandson or his great grandson. Eber was the name of the language, which goes back to the Hebrew word Ibar, which means from the past, or it could be to cross over, depending on how it's used in context. But in the case of the language itself, Ibar, it means from the past, because through the line of Eber on down, that's where the Hebrew language would be kept. The Paleo Hebrew, the Lashawan Kodash, whatever you want to call it. All right. So when this whole situation was going on, everybody was as one in one mindset. So if the Lord wanted that, why did he separate them? Because the Lord never wanted all nations to be together as one. And this is why, because he could have easily just had, Noah had one son, and that son have a son, and then just people just come out of that. But no, the Lord wanted a separation. Matter of fact, let's go, before we read on, let's go to Deuteronomy. There's a reason why he separated us from these nations. He didn't want an integration. He wanted a separation. That's why he gave us laws, statutes, and commandments that separated us from these nations. Let's go to Deuteronomy 32. And let's start at 7. Remember the days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy fathers, and he will show thee, thy elders, and they will tell thee. Excuse me. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance. See? So each nation received a portion or plot of land, their inheritance, which came with their language, their culture, their custom, their cattle, their riches, their resources, whatever it was that was given to them. It says when he separated the sons of Adam, because there was a separation all the way from the beginning, because the Most High never wanted all nations to come together. This is the rebelliousness of people. This is the rebelliousness of Renaissance Christianity. So now let's go to the word separated real quick before we read on. The Lord separated. The word there is Gaya or Gawaya, which is nation. Must have hit the wrong thing. Let's see. When he separated the sons. The word there is parad, parad, to separate, divide, to divide, separate, to be divided, be separated, pretty much to make a division, make a separation, to be divided, be separated. Yeah, because the Most High had a special people in mind, that he was going to bless. And what we see going on from the beginning, because the word Genesis means beginning, you know, Bara'ashath in the headings or in the beginning. He had a plan from the beginning. And he had the sons of the wicked, which was Cain, and the sons of the righteous, which Abel was one of the sons of the righteous and one of the sons of God, but he got put to death by his brother to fulfill his name Abel, or Habal, which means transitory. So Adam and Eve had another son, Seth. From that son came the line of the sons of God, or the sons of the Most High. That's why Genesis 4, when you get to Cain's descendants, that's the line of the sons of the wicked. Genesis 5 is the line of the sons of the righteous. And in process of time, the Lord destroyed the earth, right? In process of time, the Lord destroyed the earth by the flood. And then he saved Noah and his family, which were 8 souls altogether. And from those 3 sons of his, of Noah, the whole earth was repopulated. Whether you believe it or not, that's of no consequence to us. This is what the Lord said happened, and this is exactly what happened. So from that point on, you had the sons of God still going through the line of the righteous: Noah, Shem, Arphaxad, Eber, on down the line through Terah, and it rested, or it trickled down to Abraham, whose name was Abram at first. His name later changed to Abraham. All right. From there, Abraham had 8 sons, and out of those 8 sons, the line went through one, which was Isaac. And from Isaac had 2 seeds, and the blessing or the promise went from Isaac. I'm sorry, from Isaac to Jacob. Because when Abraham came on the scene and the Most High, made himself known to Abraham directly, he promised him, that he would bless him. He promised him that his seed would inherit a certain portion of land, which is dear to the Most High. He didn't give all nations that portion of land, from the river of Egypt all the way to the Euphrates River, which the so-called scholars call the Fertile Crescent. All nations didn't receive that. Only the nation of Israel. So when the Lord said that indeed shall all nations of the earth be blessed, it's talking about in your seed, singular, which is who? Jacob. Because it went through the process from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. And that's what we have today, because everyone that came out of the loins of Jacob are all considered to be the sons of the Most High, or Yasha Allah, because Jacob's name was changed to Israel. The name Israel, Yasha Allah, Yah is he, Shar is prince, Allah is God. He is a prince with God, or he is a prince with the power, or he is a prince of the power. These are the sons of the Most High, the sons and daughters of the Most High, the nation of Israel. And that's who the Lord is dealing with. So going all the way back to the beginning, there had to be a separation. Because if the Most High wanted a one world government, if the Lord wanted all nations to be as one, he would have never separated them, as we just read in Deuteronomy 32, which we're going to go back to, verse 8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel, right? Because he gave all nations their lands, but he saved the best land for the nation of Israel. And to show you how heavy it was, that he actually gave that land to a nation of people known as the Hamites or the Canaanites. And the Canaanites in that land, you know, they their father Ham committed a heinous crime to where the Most High caused Noah to curse Ham, son Canaan, so that we will receive that land because the Lord knew that they would be inhabiting that land at the time. You know, so there's the Most High is the supreme uh, master chess strategist. You know, so in process of time, they had that land, but then we got that land because that was the promised land that the Lord gave to the nation of Israel by the promise and oath He gave to Abraham, and that's why He separated us from those nations. Now, the verse 9 says, "For the Lord's portion is His people; Jacob is the lot of His inheritance." So this is what the Most High said. Who the hell are you to try to change that? This is what the Heavenly Father said. This is why it says in Acts 5, if this guy it says, if this work be of men, it will come to naught. But if it be of the Most High, you cannot overthrow it, lest you be found happily to fight against the Most High. You can't fight against the Most High. These are His plans. This is the contract. You can't negate the contract because you don't agree with the contract. You can't insert yourself into something that you're not a part of. Because the only ones that will return, the only ones that will be reconciled, if you understand the word reconciled, I know you're not that stupid, you know, you cannot be reconciled to something or someone if you were never a part of them, if you never knew them. And we read yesterday that the nations don't know the Most High. The other nations don't know Him. He didn't make Himself known unto them. We read that in Jeremiah 10:25 yesterday. So they don't know Him. So how can they be reconciled back to Him? They were not given the law, statutes, and commandments of this Bible, which is what made that intimate union between Yahweh and Yasha'Allah through the mediator Moses at the time. That was an intimate union that took place. And that's why the law, statutes, and commandments were given to us. That's why He said He separated us. He separated us from all those other nations. Because He didn't want an integration. He wanted a separation to set up His sons, you know, his people, the nation of Israel. Let's go real quick to 2 Ezra 6:54. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. Right. That's why it says, you only have I known of all the people of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for your iniquities. Why? Because we were supposed to know better. And the nations, they saw the great knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that was given to us. And the Lord said that they would say that. You know, wow, what one nation has the Most High so near to them? These laws, statutes, and this wisdom that these people have. Hey, when King Solomon sat on the throne, which was a prelude to the kingdom, it said that he was the wisest king of all the kings of the east. He was wiser than anyone on the planet at the time. The Queen of Sheba, it said that she came to him and she probed him with hard questions. And I'm pretty sure that she just thought she had an ace in the hole. You know how these women think. And she probably said, well, I've been to other kingdoms and, you know, and pretty much they weren't able to answer these questions. And I was told that this magnificence and that magnificence. And when I went to them, it wasn't really all that. So when she came to the kingdom of King Solomon, she thought that the porter, the one that opened the door was King Solomon. So you could imagine how decked this Israelite man was that opened the door. She thought it was him. So when she got to him, you could imagine what King Solomon was arrayed like. You know, the splendid, royal, majestic garments that he had on, the crown, the jewels, you know, and everything that encompasses that. Crown, you know, on top of the afro, you know, probably tipped to the side, you know, Jake's fashion. And she was flabbergasted. because she asked him hard questions, and everything she asked him, he broke it down to her. So much more that, so much so that she didn't have any breath left in her. You know, he knocked the wind out of her from that splendid magnificence, and that's what we're going to go back to. And that was only a prelude. And because Yahushua said, you know, King Solomon, you know, as decked out as he was, when you look at the lilies in the field, he didn't his extravagance, his essence, his attire that was fire didn't compare to how the lilies in the field were dressed. So just imagine how the kingdom is going to be. That's why I said I have not seen either ear heard, you know, the things that the Lord had prepared for them that love him. You know? So going back, it says, all this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. Right. The world was made for our sakes. That's why he gave the nations their plot of land first. He gave us the plot of land later. They got their inheritance first. When Abraham gave the gifts and all that, he gave the sons of the concubines their gifts first, and then sent them away from Isaac. And then he gave Isaac the inheritance, because those nations were not to be partakers with us, even though they were Abraham's seed, a man dear to the Most High's friend. But not all of those were a part of the Most High's sons, just Isaac and Isaac. That's why I said it's not just because they're children of the flesh are they all children, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. You got to go back to the contract, man. You can't negate the contract, man. So it goes on to say, as for the other people which also come of Adam, right? It says, thou hast said that they are nothing. It says, but be like unto spittle, which that's spit. When you spit on the ground, when's the last time you took a second thought? You know, when you spit on the ground, you took a second thought about that. You know, damn, that spit, man, that's a part of me, man. Let me go get that spit back. You ain't never thought about that. You know, that spit is long gone and forgotten. It says, and has likened the abundance of them, because the nations, there's many of them, unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. So the Most High don't take too kindly to this nation. Yeah, he created them. Yeah, he blesses them because he gives them rain. He gives them he gives them sunlight. He gives them moonlight. You know, they have their blessing of their land, their homes, their cattle. You know, when they plant seed in the ground, the Lord waters it for them. But the Most High is not dealing with them on the level that he's dealing with the nation of Israel. And he will never deal with those nations the way he's dealing with the nation of Israel. Those nations were created to be our servants. How about that? It says, and now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us and to devour us. Why? Because we pissed the Most High off. Now, there's a higher reason for it, but that's the gist of it. It says, but we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. Right, and that's going to last until the Lord establishes the kingdom on earth, when Yahushua comes to get the purchased possession, to establish us once again in the kingdom, in our rightful place, back in our positions. It says, if the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure? Right. The reason why we don't possess an inheritance with the world is because this is not our world. This is the time of the heathen. This is the time of the nations. This is the Daniel, the 2nd chapter, the Daniel, the 7th chapter, and other chapters. You know, world empires for the world heathens. until Yahushua comes back to claim his rightful place on the throne. Then the kingdom will begin. Then the nation of Israel will flourish once again. Okay? So going back to Genesis, matter of fact, before we go to Genesis 11, let's go to the book of Amos. And this is all, when you go to the New Testament, this is all reflected in the New Testament. And what these devils, like Vocab, that big fat head snake, does is they throw Jake off, because he's nothing but a stumbling block, by using the modern definition for the word Gentile. Even when you do the research on the word Gentile never, when it was back in the 1600s, when it was applied in the sense of, in the sense of what the word meant back then, it was never applied to all people. It was applied to a specific certain ethnic group. That's why the word is ethnos in the Greek, which goes back to the word ethnic or ethnicity. All right? And the way that you know who it's or what ethnicity it's speaking about is based off of the context of what is written. And this is what these devils are trying to get away from. They're trying to get away from the context. And the context reflects the contract. The context reflects the contract. The context reflects the contract, meaning that the concept of what's written or context of what's written goes back to the contract that was written, and it goes hand in hand. And when you understand that the word Gentile, means an ethnic group, then you can understand that those Gentiles, when it speaks about salvation, it's speaking about the Israelites that were in a Gentile state of mind, that were deprived of keeping the law, statutes, commandments, and they were so much so that they were even deprived of calling themselves Israelites or Jews. So if they couldn't call themselves Israelites or Jews during what was called the Hellenization period, what were they being called? They were being called Greeks. That's why when we read the New Testament, it says there is no difference between the Jew and the Greek. Why is that? Because they're both Israelites. Just one took on the name of the nation, Jew, Israelite, Benjamin, Levi, whatever the case may be, and the other took on the nationality of the other nations, in this case, the Greeks. You see? And it's just that simple, that plain. But the complication comes in the deception that was set up by Esau going back to the Renaissance period. What you read about that in Revelation, the 20th chapter. There was a dark veil pretty much that was put over the whole world once these devils got back into power, because their deadly wound was healed. They fell during the Roman Empire, and they came back in the Renaissance. And from that point on, all they've done is what? Deceive. And if your eyes are open, you can understand that that's scriptural. Because why would an individual, right, that is righteous inherit an empire, let's say, whether they conquered it or whatever, and then turn around and deface all of the images of the people from before them? Unless they were trying to deceive the world into thinking that they were the actual people that these things are written about, by erasing the original images. Going back to Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. So why would you cover the faces and then put your face up? Because you're being deceptive. And that's what the scriptures say. When they came out of that prison sentence, the very first thing they did was to deceive the world. And how did they deceive the world? by making the world believe that they were God, that they were the Son of the Most High, that they were the angels, that they were the Israelites. You see? And this is where that great deception has come. So now that we're at the end of this whole thing, they're trying to incorporate everybody because they're doing the same exact thing in building this madness that the people during the time of the Tower of Babel were doing. They were giving their energy to this one mission. And the energy of this one mission today among these Renaissance Christians is what? To make all nations a part of this contract. And you're not going to find that anywhere in here. When we go to Hebrews, the 8th chapter, which is a reiteration or the link up, which is in Jeremiah 31, the Apostle Paul was reiterating or telling again or recounting what was written in the actual contract. This is why when he spoke to the Romans, which are Israelites, he told them, you know, he broke it down. He said, this belongs to the Israelites. You know, the covenants and the adoption and, you know, and the giving of the law and the promises, so on and so forth. Then he went into the different seeds that Abraham had, because he was explaining to them, breaking down to them that although Abraham had all these seeds, it went to one, Isaac. Then from there it went to Jacob. Because you had Jacob and Esau. Esau being the vessel of dishonor, Jacob being the vessel of honor. He was breaking it all down to them. Then when you get down to around the 24th, 25th verse, he was explaining to them about these Gentiles, which were them, which were the Israelite foreigners. And when you examine what the Apostle Paul was saying in Romans 9, 24, 25 on down, all of those things that he was speaking about pertaining to the Gentiles was all speaking about Israelites when you trace it back to the contract in the Old Testament. You see? And this is what these devils are doing. They're deflecting. You see? It's not honest conversation. That's why you're never going to get a straight answer for them. It's deflection from the truth. So Hebrews 8 and 6 says, but now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is a mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. Why? Because the old covenant, we couldn't keep it because we weren't perfect. That's why in this time, when we are established once again with this second covenant, this covenant, once we get changed, there will be an upgrade to our bodies spiritually of the Most High, which is the law, statutes, and commandments inserted into us once we're changed and our hearts are changed. You see? So that we can be perfect. Because the fault wasn't in the covenant itself, the fault was in the people that were in bodies that were corrupt, that couldn't keep the law, statutes, and commandments. Going back to that malignant heart that was established or put into Adam. You see? So there's a whole mission. And we had to learn the evil and the good. Perfect circle. 365 degrees of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You know, which was one of the main teachings of High Priest Shaquab. You know, back in the days. That was one of his main things. We had to learn both the good and the evil. And that's the truth. That's why the Yahushua and the angels said the man has become as one of us, knowing good and evil. What are we going to do? Because if he puts forth his hands to eat of the tree of life, he'll live forever. And that's why we get in the tree of life now, to live forever. And that tree of life now is given to us to eat from because of the sacrifice of Yahushua, which believing in Yahushua, that is the key to eternal life. It gets deep, man. It gets deep, baby. All right. So verse 7. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. Right. And that first covenant was made with who? The nation of Israel. Second covenant was made with who? Nation of Israel. And you can't get around that. That's why supersessionism, replacement theology, replaces the Israelites for the believers, so-called church believers, or however the hell they put it. Because you can't insert yourself into a contract that's already established for a particular people unless you remove the clause of those people out of the contract to insert yourself. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to take some white out and wipe out the Israelites, and then once the whiteout dries, and start writing yourself into it. It don't work like that. You cannot doctor the contract. The contract is already etched in stone. It says, for finding fault with them, with Israel, he saith, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. So that means that according to their teachings, the Renaissance Christianity, the next verse should say, and the nations will be a part of this. Because he said he's going to make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Why? Because the nation was split into two. Read Ezekiel 37, where the Lord brought the nation back together as one. There's not going to be no more separation. And this is why we had the 12 tribes sign with all 12 tribes on it and who they are today through the Spirit. We believe through faith that this was given to High Priest Ariel to break this down. You see? So these naysayers, you notice that they never have a 12 tribe sign. They never tell you who the other tribes are. But they'll say, nope, that sign is wrong. That sign is fake. Yeah, but where's your sign? And what is a breakdown for the 12 tribes? Because the 12 tribes of Israel obviously are here today because the Lord said that they're going to be saved. So who are they today? So it goes on to say, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Haushai. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days. Notice he didn't say Israel and Judah now, because that's when they're coming back together as one. Hence the tabernacle of David, the tabernacle of David. Saith the Lord, I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a power, and they shall be to me a people. That's why we have to be changed. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. So all Israel is going to know the Most High. So we don't have to teach each other anymore. But what we will be teaching in the kingdom are the other nations, because they will be subject to our laws. Just like when we went into captivity under them, we had to be subject to their laws. They're going to be subject to our laws, which are the laws of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. It says, for I will be merciful unto their unrighteousness and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more. Hence, what is that? Romans 11 chapter. The Lord, the Messiah, will come and remove iniquities from Israel, something along those lines. All right, it says, in that he saith a new covenant, he had made the first old. And this is where these wacky-tacky Renaissance Christians come in and say, you see, the Old Testament done away with. It's not talking about the Old Testament. It's talking about the covenant, the old covenant. What was the old covenant? That we were to keep the law, statutes, and commandments of the Lord, and if we went off, we would have to sacrifice. So the sacrificial law, is done away with. But the laws themselves are not done away with. See? And this is where the ignorance comes in. It says, and that he said the new covenant, he has made the first oath Now that which decayeth and waxes old is ready to vanish away. And why was he saying this? Because when at the time when he was writing this, he was writing this to the Hebrews, to the Israelites that were still doing blood sacrifices. And that's why the very next chapter on down, the 9 and 10th chapter, he went deep into the law of sacrifice and how Yahweh Shai covered all of that. That's what it's talking about. And that's only given to the nation of Israel. So there's nothing new under the sun. So this whole thing that they're doing with this Christianity, this Renaissance Christianity, is they're trying to gather all nations together like they were gathering all nations together during the time of Babel and trying to erect the Tower of Babel. And that's what they're doing now here in the modern day Babylon the Great, America. You know, that's why this is known as the melting pot. That's why, you know, the doctrine of plantation / Renaissance Christianity is being taught here in America, because they're trying to gather all peoples, all nations, all tongues under one banner. And the Lord never wanted that. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say Shalom.